Hey everybody, it's Mr. Fabeck here, Fabiology. We're going to talk about macromolecules or large molecules of life so that we can think about how do we get these macromolecules and how does it turn it into fuel for our body or just the living components of what we have, because you are what you eat. That is the phrase, correct? So let's explain the difference between the four major organic macromolecules of life, identify food sources for each type, and explain how each type is used in the body. Those are our goals for today. So let's just have a meal together here. Pho is delicious. It helps me get through these cold Minnesota winters. It is a delicious broth with rice noodles, beef, maybe veggies. If you're that kind of all veggie person, go ahead, load it up. I like to just add a little bit extra. Throw some mung beans in there, basil, some sriracha, spice it up, hoisin. Oh, it is delicious, and I am not alone in agreeing with this. We have celebrity chefs Chrissy Teigen. We also have Barack Obama. He loves a good bowl of pho as well. But what is in it? What are the essential macromolecules that we get from this bowl, and how does that keep us growing and sustaining our body? So let's just get into that. Let's start with the four overview of macromolecules. Let's start with first one. One, we have carbohydrates or sugars found in grains, fruits, and vegetables. Two, proteins, chains of linked amino acids found in meats, meat, beans, and nuts. We also have lipids, which are fats found in fish, eggs, cheese, and dairy. And lastly, we don't really consider them often, but they are. They are nucleic acids, building blocks of life. These are large molecules or complex molecules, deoxyribonucleic acid or ribonucleic acid. These are also part of this major macromolecule category. So let's just start with carbohydrates. You can see a picture there of chemical structure of glucose and fructose. If we join them together, we can make a disaccharide. Again, these are starting to all become more complicated as we go from a simple sugar like glucose, a monosaccharide, to a disaccharide, to a poly or mini sugars together, cellulose in plant cells, or starch in potatoes. But in the framework, what the big thing is they give us a lot of quick energy. 4 kilocalories per gram, and we find them in the general 1 to 2 to 1 ratio, right? Like C6H12O6 is glucose. That is a general ratio we have. But we primarily find them in fruits and vegetables and grains, pastas, all of these. And so what we can do is we can chop them up and use that energy for our body for later. Proteins, we're probably all familiar with. There's tons of stuff at the vitamin shop. You walk down, a Walgreens, a CVS aisle, you might find, hey, there's proteins here, there's proteins there, branched chains, amino acids, protein bars. Proteins are made up of molecules called amino acids. There's 20 different amino acids that exist. The big function that we generally relate is building muscle or ligaments and skin, blood clots. Proteins are a good bodybuilder, if you will. But enzymes, which do specific jobs like break things apart, take things down, right? Enzymes are proteins. And one of the things that we also don't really consider is our genetic code. The DNA that we transcribe and translate into proteins can be represented for our hair, our skin tone, eye color, muscles, etc., right? I mean, we're basically even making more enzymes. We're basically taking the amino acids, forming these complex protein molecules and using them for what we want. Or we're eating something like that beef, and we are breaking it apart into its raw materials so that we can build our own materials, right? So if we're doing some CrossFit or some powerlifting, or we just want to be like The Rock and just start weightlifting, boom, we are building muscle and building using the amino acids of the power of proteins. So next one we have are fats or lipids. Fats are actually really important for you too. We're not going to get too far into them. When we think about uh, saturated fat versus unsaturated fat, healthy, whatever, we'll save that for another day. But just like the bare bones, fats are storage components. They store energy. We actually get 9 kilocalories per gram. So if you're thinking back to carbohydrates, fats actually give you more energy in the end. But they store energy, and they're also making up our cell membranes, our phospholipid bilayer, which you can see in the picture here. We also can see they're very complex, with monomers being triglycerides. There's going to be glycerol and fatty acids, and depending on how many fatty acid chains you put on your glycerol, you can make triglycerides, diglycerides, there. They're very complicated, but again, very important for life when we think about what we're using them for with our membranes and so on, and energy storage. Let's end here with nucleic acids, deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA. It's made up of millions of nucleotides. You can see in the picture here a nucleotide. We have our sugar, interestingly enough, a sugar, or I like to say the house. The balloon is our phosphate group, and our little mailbox or our base. So our nucleotide, when we string a bunch of nucleotides together, we make this complicated deoxyribonucleic acid. And same if we had it single-stranded for ribonucleic acid, but this is your genetic code. This makes you you. Again, this makes you capable of doing certain things such as building enzymes, okay? And so the function is really just getting you through life, if you will, okay? And so nucleic acids are important, and when we think about where do we get them, well, we're eating cells, and so we can start to break down some of those components as well, and they are found throughout your life as well. So here's our mastery question again, coming back to what we started with, this delicious bowl of pho. Perhaps you're going to go do one of those giant pho challenge. I think this is from a Seattle company out there, but there's some great pho around Minneapolis, St. Paul I want you to check out. But what's in pho? So we have to think about, we have all these beautiful ingredients. Okay, I just threw a few up there. Maybe you have your own special concoction. I always ask my students, where do I get the best pho? And they always say my grandma, and I'm like, that doesn't help me. But here we go. Think about what macromolecules are in beef, the broth, basil, peppers, bean sprouts. You know, some of these can have more complicated parts to them, so there might be more than one found in there. Bonus, think about your favorite school lunch and label the macromolecules for each part of that meal, and we'll be all set there. So that's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel and pass this along to help out everybody understand the biology of life. Later, everybody. Bye.